Hey, welcome back to another episode of Soulful Sundays with Madge. If you are new to this channel, my name is Madge. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel. And while on this journey with me, we are going to discuss some of life challenges that come up at different points in time and how our perspective can be a great tool in helping us to navigate some of these apparent life obstacles. And as always, if you like what you receive, feel free to hit the like button. You can leave a comment below. Ring the bell to subscribe to the channel. This way, when I upload, you'll receive notification. And you can always email me at askmadge18@gmail.com if you have questions regarding this video or a past video or just anything in general. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the topic this week, which is choosing your experience. I actually came across an anonymous quote. It was really simple, but yet it was profound to me. And it stated, in life, when we make a choice, we change our future. And I think back to so many times in life where I would have experiences. And, when I talk about an experience in this episode, I'm not talking about the simple things in life where it's easy for us to overcome. It's easy for us to just choose how we're going to naturally flow to the next moment. I'm talking about the element of surprise. I'm talking about when you didn't see it coming, when it brings you sometimes to your knees in tears and you don't know what you're going to do. Sometimes we may feel betrayed by someone. This is the kind of experiences that I'm talking about in life. Because what I find that has been so true in my life is the way that I perceive the moment, the way that I react to those situations that come up in my life, it's truly going to change my future. And sometimes it's changed my future in a direction that I have not really been happy about. So let me ask you, have you ever had an experience where maybe someone calls you, or you have an encounter with someone, or maybe it was something that you were hoping for in life, and the element of surprise just really hit you, and it hit you so hard that sometimes we react in rage. Sometimes it could be us bringing other people in on the experience to kind of have the pity party, moments with us, which is okay. I think that in times we all need a shoulder to lean on. But have you ever had those moments where sometimes after like a couple days, you sit back and you think about it and you're like, man, it really wasn't how I initially perceived it to be, or maybe I could have handled it differently, or maybe I could have went about it a different way. And you sit back and you think about it and you're like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have went about the situation the way I did, because perhaps the outcome may have been different. I'm so guilty of that. I have been so guilty of having an encounter, having an uncomfortable conversation, and immediately going with my first thought and bringing others in on the situation. Or I've had experiences where maybe something that I was hoping for didn't quite work out the way that I thought it was going to work out. And it has made me feel that was just it for me, that there wasn't another opportunity, or there was no other way to see it. Like the way the situation played out means that that's exactly what it was, and that there was no other way to see life happening or unfolding, because it just seems like that one shot or that opportunity or that thing that I was hoping for was it. And so these are all situations that I have faced at many times in my life. In fact, this past 7 to 10 days, has been truly a whirlwind of choosing my experience. I actually, a very dear cousin had called me like early a Saturday morning. And so this is basically kind of what I mean, one of the examples, unexpected encounter. So, you're waking up, you have your day plan, you know what it is that you're going to do, you're feeling good, you're in a good mood, you have a list of all the things that you're going to accomplish. And a random, well, not a random, but a normal phone call that you may normally have with a particular person, you have this encounter. So this is what happened. So a very dear cousin called me, and she wanted to know how I was feeling about a situation that she had made me aware of probably like a month or so ago. And to be perfectly honest with you, I had not even thought about the situation beyond when she brought the information to me. Dealt with it, moved on, hadn't even thought about it. But when she brought it up, I became super tense. I was really uncomfortable, and I could feel something on the inside of me letting me know, like, this is making me feel uncomfortable. This is not an experience or a conversation that I really want to have. So I exercised a pivot. I literally pivot and decided to shift the conversation, touched on it briefly, moved into another direction. So that's something that we can do when we have encounters with people and we notice that they're bringing us information that really is not making us feel comfortable. It's something that we don't really want to touch on because it's not part of the experience that we're looking to have in our day. We do have the right. We have the right to pivot. We have the right to choose to choose to shift the energy and shift the direction and go in a different way. It's our right, it's our responsibility to choose our responses. And so that's what I did. But what this dear cousin had no idea was that literally for half the day, once we hung up, I literally had to do so much inner work, so much self-talk, to peel back so many layers, to dig myself out of this like deep valley she basically, unbeknownst to her, placed me in. She was speaking out of love, which most times people who are in our lives that bring us information or bring us things usually aren't doing it to make us feel bad. It's usually out of love. It's just that they may not be aware what we are doing in our lives to not have certain thoughts or to not have certain encounters. So it literally took me like half a day to really just peel back so many layers and just say to myself, this is not the experience that I'm gonna have, and I'm not gonna bring anyone else into this. I'm not going to look for someone externally to make me feel good about the experience that I'm having. I'm going to choose to do some work within. I'm going to choose to ask myself, what was my intentions for the day? What did I have on my mind to accomplish today? What were the thoughts that I was having when I woke up that very moment? How did I feel? And how do I want to continue to feel? What are the thoughts that I want to continue to have? And it did. It took me probably like 4 hours. But it was because I realized from in the past that a lot of times when people would do the same very thing to me, and it's probably happened to you, bring you information, the first thing you want to do is you want to bring others in because you're not feeling good. You're not pleased with how that encounter made you feel and the thoughts that you are dealing with now because you had that moment. But what I've come to find is a lot of times when we bring others in, we usually regret it because it could start an argument or it could make us feel even worse than we had already felt when we can just choose to pivot. We can choose to pivot. We can choose to shift the energy. And by no means am I saying to ignore what you're feeling, but I'm just saying get to a place where we can choose to examine what we're feeling, where we can choose to ask ourselves, do we want to move forward in the very next moment with that feeling? And if it's not something that we want to have, do whatever work we have to do to shift the mood, to shift the energy, to keep focusing moment by moment on what it is that you can do to get yourself out of it and choose to have the experience that you wanted to have all along. Another practice that I had to work with this week was the internal pause button. And so this was really, really hard because it was actually something that I was hoping for, something that I was really excited about. And it's just seeming like it's not going the way that I had hoped for it to go. And sometimes I think in life when things aren't going the way that we hoped for them to go, our initial thoughts are to label them. We want to categorize it and put it in a box and state this is what it is, right? So if I had to say what that would look like with me categorizing, it would have been, you know what, Madge, this is what I would have said to myself. Madge, this thing that you're hoping for, it's dead. You should just leave it alone. Maybe, it's not meant for you. Maybe it's not part of the plan. And just give up. Give up on it, right? And you know what? Maybe it's not part of the plan. Maybe it's not meant for me. Who knows? But what I decided to do is instead of labeling it, instead of saying, you know what, this is bad or this is not right, I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to hit an internal pause button. And for 3 days, 3 whole days, I'm not going to categorize this experience as anything. Well, I'm not going to give it a title. It's an experience. It's something that I'm going through, but I'm not going to define what it is. And for 3 whole days, I'm not going to define it. I'm not going to mark it as bad. I'm not going to mark it as not for me. But I am going to think about all the good that can come out of this experience. What are all the good possibilities that have come from it, that can continue to come from it? And that is what I am going to focus on. And then on Monday, if I decide that, you know what, I'm going to categorize this as bad, it's not for me, then I'll deal with it on Monday. But I'm almost willing to believe that if I choose to not mark or label this experience that I'm having, but choose to hit the internal pause button and focus on all the good possibilities that can come from it, I'm willing to bet by Monday, and even before Monday, day by day, something that may have made me feel so dark, so sad, end of the world feeling, ready to call up the world and let's have a pity party for Madge, kind of experience. What happens is that you're almost training your mind to focus more on good, even while having an experience that on the onsite, you're like, what's going on? Like, this can't be good. But just saying, you know what, I'm going to hit the pause and I'm not going to say it's not good. I'm not going to say it is good. But I'm going to focus on the possibilities of what might be good. And those are just different ways that I think can be helpful in navigating those unexpected situations that come up that can force us or sometimes make us feel like we're forced to allow the moment to dictate what our experience is supposed to be, where we can actually choose to be responsible for the moment and take that back and say, no, I'm not going to let the moment tell me how my experience is going to be. I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose all the possibilities. I'm going to choose to believe everything that could possibly be good. And I'm going to choose to have this experience work for me, work for my future, work for the way in which I want to see life. And here's the thing. None of us know the future, right? We don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring. But I know one thing. I'd rather believe in all the good that tomorrow may bring than to believe in this moment that there could be no way that there could be any good in tomorrow. So, I thank you so much for tuning in another week of Soulful Sundays with Madge. And remember, when we make a choice, we're literally changing the future.